Hi there, I'm Representative Hernandez. I have the distinction and the honor of being able to serve as state representative from District Number 2. I've been in the state legislature for now 6 years. When I first started the legislature, the very first bill that I introduced here was a bill to eliminate the pink tax, a bill to eliminate sales taxes on feminine hygiene products, diapers, and baby formula. 6 years in, we're still working on it, but we've done so much work to help educate people about the need for equity for all people and all Arizonans, particularly for those who are the most unable to afford some of their basic necessities. So I'm here to be a supporter and advocate, but also proud to be a partner in this fight with the Women's Foundation of not just Southern Arizona, but of the state of Arizona.
Great. Representative Hernandez, thank you so much for supporting our bill. The first question I have is, so this initiative to end state sales tax on feminine hygiene products and diapers has been one that you have supported in the past. Why is this initiative important to you and for the people of Arizona?
You know, I've been in this fight for a long time now. It was literally the first bill that I introduced because when I looked at the legislature, I was knocking on doors and talking to voters. And when I was talking to a couple, I had a woman who told me, "Do you know how much diapers cost?" And I could not answer the question. And it made me really take a step back. She said that her child was in diapers and had baby formula that was very special, that was being taxed. And I said, well, that's a problem. And then the more as I researched about feminine hygiene products, baby formula, and diapers, I realized that Arizona was a state that had not worked to eliminate those taxes. Meanwhile, we have over 300 exemptions in Arizona state statute, everything from crop dusters to Viagra. So we had a lot of exemptions, and I thought it was really problematic that for people who menstruate in the state of Arizona, they had to pay a premium because not only do you have to buy the items, the sanitary napkins, the cups, whatever item you choose to use, you also had to then pay a sales tax on that. So one of the very first things that I did was I sat down with some of my Republican colleagues and was able to get some support from them. I actually got the bill heard my freshman year, but it was really fun having to explain to an 80-year-old man what a feminine hygiene product was, even though it specifically was outlined in the bill. And he got really uncomfortable because a lot of times what I've learned being here at the legislature for the last 6 years is people are really uncomfortable talking about the human body, but these are basic things and basic necessities that need to be met. So by us refusing to have the conversation, there was a lot of things that we were leaving undone, including having people pay a premium on menstrual products, on diapers, and even some of these other basic necessities that, you know, is just unconscionable. So for me, it's been an ongoing fight, but I'm passionate about it because it's about equity. It's about making sure that all Arizonans, whether they're men, women, or non-binary, have the ability to live with dignity and the ability to make sure that they're not having to make the choice of, am I buying the diaper so my kid can go to daycare today? Am I buying, sanitary napkins for my daughter or my child to go to school today because otherwise they're gonna have to stay home because they're menstruating?
Thank you. Can you give us any insight on why progress on 2534 has been stalled?
This one specific issue has stalled for a couple different reasons. I think the biggest one is the lack of education. And I think the thing that's the most surprising and the most disappointing for me is that there are women who are in the legislature who don't understand that they may be coming from a background where they're privileged and they have the ability to be able to afford these things and not give it a second thought. But there are Arizonans who can ill afford to be able to pay on average $18,000 a year, $18,000 for feminine hygiene products and other things like diapers. When I'm talking to my colleagues, especially people who have just had babies, they are acutely aware, but what happens is once their kids are out of diapers, they seem to forget all of the costs associated with it. So that's where I had to do a lot of work to help educate and contextualize, because the more we educated people about the issue, the more fired up they got. The problem has been we have not reached that perfect moment of the education has reached the right political opportunity. This year, the chairwoman of the committee that is in charge of taxation, her focus is on eliminating the income tax, which is, her preferred method. But the reality is there are a lot of people who would be benefiting from this tax exemption who don't pay an income tax because they're low income. They don't even qualify to be able to file regular taxes because they're making so little money. So any relief that they would get from an income tax cut wouldn't actually help them, but this would be an immediate relief where they'd be able to actually make sure that they have extra dollars in their pocket to be able to feed their kids, feed themselves, keep a roof over their head, or right now with the rising price of gas, being able to drive to be able to get to work.
Thank you. You actually already answered my third question by stating some of the ways that women are impacted by taxes on feminine hygiene products, including that women spend $18,000 on feminine hygiene products throughout their lifetime. The need for diapers for their infants. We have 2,200 diapers in their first year of life. So thank you for highlighting those economic impacts for women and girls. So the next question, our last question, is an easy one. What is the best way for people to communicate with you if you are their legislator?
So I think one of the biggest things, and it's not just tied to this piece of legislation, but it's tied to the entire legislative process, is we are a part-time legislature here in Arizona. We are only in session generally from January until May or June, depending on when it takes us to finish a budget. So my advice is always get to know people in your districts. Don't wait to come up to Phoenix. Meet with them at home in Tucson, in Phoenix, or wherever you live, because your legislator will spend most of their time at home. And I think one of the things that I always appreciated when I was a young advocate, when I started lobbying at the age of 18, was I could reach out to a lawmaker and invite them for a cup of coffee. I remember taking one for a cup of ice cream at a frozen yogurt place one time and talking to them about the issues that I cared about. So reach out to them. The other thing that I think is also really important is there are a couple of different ways that you can do advocacy. Phone calls, I think, are some of the most effective ways, followed by handwritten notes or pieces of mail. The last, and I think the least effective, is writing an email, because we get deluged by foreign emails constantly. So what I always recommend to people is, if you don't hear from me and you actually want a response, call my office and my assistant will make sure that I get back to you, whether it's, here's why I'm opposing this bill, or here's why I'm supporting this bill, or to set up a quick phone call to say, here's what we're working on and here's why we're doing this issue. The other thing, and this is the thing that I always highlight, and nobody ever takes me up on it, which is come to the Capitol when we're in session and ask to shadow your legislator. Many of us are more than willing to accommodate, people's schedules. We're here Monday through Thursdays. And every year I go to speak at events all over the state, and I'm always telling people, come shadow me. And every year I get like 2 or 3 people that actually take me up on that offer. But it gets you an opportunity to, 1, meet your lawmaker, 2, understand the process, and 3, build relationships, not just with your own lawmaker, with other people who may be impacting policies that you care about. So I always say to folks, take the time to get to know your lawmakers, ask them for copy, meet them in their districts. And always follow up. If you don't get a response, follow up, either phone calls or send an email, but always make sure you follow up if you want a response, because we will get deluged with information. And if we don't get back to you because we missed one email, don't be upset, and say instead, let me give them another opportunity to follow up.
This is incredibly helpful. Thank you so much again for